This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Welcome back, everyone. We have a lot of new people who are now subscribed to this channel, so if you are in that group, welcome. We are so glad you're here. So twice a month, I do videos that feature viewer work. So people who watch this channel send stuff in, and I review it and kind of give it a critique on the channel. We've got some really impressive stuff that people have sent in over the years. We're well over 300 mail pieces at this point, books, zines, prints, the whole 9 yards. And we've got some cool stuff to look at today. So without further ado, let's get to your mail. All right, so first up is this little book, which comes to us from Matt Palmer. And I'm going to tell you a little story about Matt because he didn't actually send this in. He actually handed it to me in person. So earlier this summer, back in June, I actually went to Calgary to take a little vacation for a week. And I got together with Chris and Jordan from Petapixel while I was there. You guys probably know who they are. We were also hanging out with Evelyn and Dave. You guys probably have seen the camera store videos anyway, so it was really cool. And we decided it might be kind of fun to do a meetup. So we did a meetup. We started at the camera store, then we moved to the bar next door. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, Matt was one of the guys who came to the meetup. He introduced himself and said, I have a book that I want to send you, but it's actually in my car. Can I just give it to you? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Matt is a very interesting dude. He works as a location manager in the film industry, and so we talked a lot about that. His photographs are really great. And so I wanted to share his book with you in this video here. Matt also did give me a little note, which reads, Ted, thank you for your channel and all of the great value that you bring to the photography space. I appreciate that your content is more than just gear reviews. I am a location manager in the film industry, and my father was a master photographer, so imaging means a lot to me. Please accept this copy of my first book. My dad did 5 books, and I wanted to make my own. Your reviews have helped me in my approach, hopefully successfully. Landscape and story are key to what I do artistically, looking for drama. My work is always in the moment and instinctual. Thank you for taking the time to look at this, especially for creating content to inspire other artists. With gratitude, Matt Palmer. All right, so Matt, a few things about your book here. I really love it. I think it's interesting that your entire book is black and white, with the exception of one spread that's in color in the back, which is kind of interesting to me. It actually makes me want to see more of your color work. But a couple things that I really like about this. First of all, the extreme horizontal in each image. It definitely has kind of a cinematic look to it, and I think that's obviously something that is inspiring to you and influencing you as a location manager in the film industry. But one thing that's interesting is the subject matter tends to be a lot of different things in this book. And what I would suggest that you do, I think this is an awesome first attempt at a book. For your second book, what I would do is try to limit myself, if I were you, on one specific type of subject matter. And I'll give you an example here. About halfway through this book, you've got a series on motel images. And I think this is really interesting because it kind of gives you one subject to explore. And I really love the different lighting conditions, the different scenarios. Some of them are old and they're maybe not open. Some of them are well lit. This is a really interesting topic, and I think bringing something like that together would give your book just a little more cohesiveness. I think you've done an awesome job here, and that's not to say anything about the book. I like the weather shots a lot also. Obviously, shots of Calgary are an important part of this because that's where you are and where you live. I think this is really well done, but I think it would be really cool to see you go in a little bit more conceptual direction on your next project. Keep me posted. This is awesome work. And like I said, I'm a little bit influenced because Matt was a really cool guy and we did have a beer together and we got to hang out for a while. And I think he does great work. I love Finding a Place. I think it's an ode to his home near Calgary. And just kind of want to see more in a different kind of perspective. So awesome job, Matt. You should be very proud. And by the way, if you guys want to follow anybody, I'll put Instagram handles. And if they're selling their books, I'll put ways you can get that in the show description below this video. All right, so these are a set of images that come to us from Cliff Kirchhoff. Cliff is a really cool guy as well. We actually met in the parking lot, shook hands, and he asked if he could give me a package, a little sample of his work. I said, absolutely. And he said, okay, so here's the deal, Ted. My work is not street photography. It's not fashion. It's just going to be very different. And he piqued my interest right there. So these are a set of images of models. Let's see if I can get these in focus. There's some really interesting stuff going on here. I love the kind of monochrome format that Cliff chose on these. I think is really cool. It's not black and white, but there's just not a lot of color that was put in front of the camera. They're very emotional and very dramatic. Very cool stuff. Cliff, it was awesome to meet you. I appreciate you sharing your work. I'll put a link to Cliff's website below. Cliff, I want to see you do a book. Send it in, my friend. That was a lot of fun being in Calgary. I haven't done a meetup in years on the show, so it was a lot of fun to meet some folks, and we had a good time. So now let's switch over. I'm going to get to some stuff that was sent in First up, I'm going to try the pronunciation here. This is from Yahya Sadek. This is a little zine called April in New York City. Yahya also sent me a note. Hey Ted, I was recently inspired to create a zine of recent work I had through New York City. So here it is. I know it isn't perfect, but I acknowledge not much is. The photos that I chose were my favorite ones taken during the walk. There are no real or clear story to them other than I thought they looked good. Please feel free to give me any advice. I am always open to hearing how I can improve. Thank you. Okay, so Yahya, there's some great images in here. I definitely see a little bit of a Saul Leiter influence in places, which is a very cool thing. The only thing I would recommend is, I know that you are trying to maximize your space here, but flipping back and forth between vertical and horizontal is just a little weird. I don't want to critique this too much because it's just a collection of images that you took in New York, but I think the coolest part about making stuff is the fact that one thing always leads to another. So whatever inspired you to collect a series of images and put them in a book, maybe it was the show, maybe it was other mail time videos, I don't know, but you did it. And now you've done that, you see what it looks like. You have something physical that you can hold in your hand. You sent a copy to me. So where do you go from here? What does the next one look like? And if you're interested, and the only reason I say this is because you're very clear that these images don't tell a story. They always tell a story. I mean, that is, this is a day in New York City. So it's, not a very dramatic story, perhaps, but it is a concept that holds all this together. And I think that that's one of the magical things about creative work is then where does that go? And the fact that you brought that up makes me think that probably you want to start telling stories in your work. So where does that lead you for the next project? And I think this is something everybody can learn from. And for those of you who have never done a little book project like this, do one. This one's not very big. It's only a couple pages, but it's a start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. The most important thing is that you learn moving forward for the next one. So anyway, Yahya, thank you for sharing this. I think it was awesome that you did so, and I want to see more work. So awesome stuff. All right, so we are going to travel from Ann Arbor to New Orleans, but first I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, who are the always awesome folks over at Squarespace. How easy is it to build an amazing website in a matter of minutes? Squarespace has you covered. It's dead simple. Head over to Squarespace, hit Get Started. You can start by selecting from an impressive collection of customizable templates, or you can do what I do, build your own. Something unique because, you're not like other websites. Give your site a name. Next, you can build your homepage. We'll start with a few preset layouts just to get us going. Want to sell products like books or prints? Well, you can feature those on your homepage. Create a few more sections if you want. Let's also give it a color palette. There's a whole bunch to choose from, and just get us started. We can change this all later. Next, let's select the typography choices. Welcome to your website. Everything is set up and it's all ready for you to customize. Squarespace is built on Fluid Engine, the next generation of website design. Select Edit, and Fluid Engine allows you to drag, place, and resize any element on the page. You can snap these to a grid, you can make them float on top of one another, you can freeform however you like. You can even preview and adjust how the site looks on either desktop or mobile. The layouts are independent. Of course, you'll want a portfolio for your work. Creating an image gallery is as easy as dropping a folder of images on your web browser. Once uploaded, you can drag to resort, customize the look, and Squarespace writes all of the code for you. Everything just works and it looks fabulous. Want to sell your own prints, books, or zines? Squarespace has the capabilities to not only set up your online store and collect payments, but they also give you all the tools that you're going to need to be successful. Managing shipping and payment options, manage your orders, and engage with your customers. They even give you the tax tools that you need to keep things organized and stay compliant. You should try Squarespace for yourself. It's absolutely free, no credit card required. Just go to squarespace.com/AOP, sign up for that free trial. If you decide Squarespace is right for you, I can save you an additional 10% on your order by using offer code AOP on checkout. That's right, the code is AOP. So stop procrastinating, go build your website today. And I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. All right, so next up is this zine called Ann Arbor 2022. This comes to us from Barry M. Chatilian. So Ann Arbor is an interesting zine. So it has a lot of street photography images, and it seems to me to be a bit of a portrait of Ann Arbor. One of the things that makes this really difficult for me to actually do critiques is this one didn't actually have a note in it, so I'm not really sure what Barry's intentions were with this. I do like it a lot. I think it's very interesting. I think the black and white is well printed in here. So I understand the appeal to street street photography, but I want to put a challenge to you on this, Barry, because there's a couple spreads in here I want to point out that I think are some of the best work in the book. First of all, these two images, the barbershop. And the second spread, I'm not sure how related these are, but you've got this gentleman in the doorway and another guy sitting in a living room. Now, bear with me on this because I just chose a bunch of images that aren't quite street photography, maybe the barbershop. But my point is these images speak to me anyway because they make me curious as to know who these people are. There's a big difference between shooting people on the street doing random things or smiling or waving, and then shooting somebody in an environment. And I think because they're environmental portraits, that's what creates an enormous amount of interest on those. The barbershop particularly, but also this guy in the living room. I'm interested in who he is. Why is he in the living room? Who is he? What does he do? So while you've achieved this portrait of Ann Arbor, so to speak, from a street photography perspective, I would actually challenge you to do another collection and try to do it more on an introspective level, dealing with people who live in Ann Arbor. And it would require doing some text along with your images to explain who people are. And like I said, I don't have a note or anything, so I can't discuss this with you. I'm just kind of riffing on what I'm seeing. But I think that would be really interesting to see. Anyway, awesome work, and I'll put a link to this in the show description. So thank you, Barry, for sending. All right, so next up is a book called New Orleans, and this comes to us from a husband and wife duo. So this is Arnold Zahn and Margot Tossig Pinkerton. So Arnie and Margot are from North Carolina. They're husband-wife duo who have done an impressive amount of work. Both used to be commercial photographers, and they've done a lot of workshops and such. And I don't have a note with this. I'm just going off the bio in here, but I do want to read part of their artist statement in here, which reads, husband and wife Arnold Zahn and Margot Tossig Pinkerton have traveled the world for decades as professional fine art photographers. Their work is widely published. For decades, even before they retired from assignment work, Margot and Arnie have been attracted to the unique and eclectic nature of New Orleans, particularly the area around the French Quarter. For them, it offers never-ending photographic possibilities. The changing casts of characters of varying scenes, the different nuances of color and light keep Arnie and Margot returning year after year. In this collection, these artists bring two views of a historic and amazing city. Arnie is drawn to the visceral and sometimes raw aspects of New Orleans, while Margot is attracted to light and shadow, line and form, regardless of the subject. Their images have been extensively exhibited and are in museums and private collections worldwide, including, among others, the George Eastman House, Museum of Contemporary Photography in Chicago, and many others. Photography has always been their life and their passion, and they always seek to interpret scenes rather than merely recording them. So to Arnie and Margot, this is very interesting to me because I'm not sure that I've ever seen a collaboration book quite like this. Usually when I've had collaborations before, there's kind of a delineation of which photographer did what, and these are kind of working together as a unit, and I kind of like that. You've got two different photographers with two completely different styles, and I think the way the work speaks collectively throughout the book is not dependent on each photographer. It's a contribution to the final project. Love the color in here. This is really nicely printed. You guys are obviously attracted to neon and nightlife and all that, and New Orleans is a beautiful city that has an enormous amount of visual stuff to offer, and I think that's really exciting. And so anyway, you've done a really nice job in here, and I will put a link below if anybody is interested in obtaining a copy of this, and you can go over their website and check out their work as well. I want to thank everybody for sending stuff in today. We do these twice a month. They're awesome. They're a lot of fun. We are going to change things up a little bit at the end of the year. I'm going to have some information for you guys soon on that. I've got big ideas. But until the next video, I will see you guys then. Later.